Ow. Alright guys, for today's video, it's another flock camera video. Imagine that. But this time, this little news story just kind of lays it out exactly how these things are used to abuse your rights and how they use it to circumvent your constitutional rights. So here we go. In Charlotte, Mecklenburg, there's a cop that is on paid administrative leave, or unpaid leave, I should say, because he was abusing the flock camera system. Here's a quick little story video about it. Let's listen to this.
New at 7, a Charlotte Mecklenburg police officer is on unpaid leave as the department investigates an unauthorized use of a flock camera. We've been reporting on these flock surveillance cameras as they get nationwide attention. In theory, they help officers solve crimes by tracing stolen cars and wanted suspects. But there's also been a whole lot of concern over potential misuse. We've learned Officer Seth Elliott was arrested on charges he was using the flock cameras, but not for anything related to his job as an officer. Now, we don't know the exact details tonight, but he has been suspended and charged. Meanwhile, police...
Okay, so you can see that an unauthorized search. Who authorizes these searches? Well, no one really authorizes these searches, but let's continue on here a little bit. Okay, NC Bureau of Investigation said he ran an unauthorized search of North Carolina license plate registration. Criminal Justice Law Enforcement Automated Data Services is an up-to-date database about offenders for use by state and local government officials. Officials did not say what the unauthorized search was related to. They said on June 22nd, they placed Elliott on paid administrative leave. Okay, well, this video said unpaid. This says paid, so I don't know exactly what the deal is. Elliott's equipment and access to systems with criminal intelligence information was removed. On Wednesday, the 29th, he was charged with illegally accessing a government computer. He was given a $15,000 unsecured bond. Okay, so here we go. Is yet another cop accessing and abusing this flock camera system to, don't even know what this guy's doing yet. So all we can do is speculate, to stalk somebody, to follow somebody, to check in on somebody to see where they are, to bring them a dozen donuts. Who knows, okay? It doesn't matter. What matters is that merely when people have access to this sort of technology that should not exist, they will inevitably abuse this technology, especially when there are zero guardrails in place for it. And even if there were guardrails, they would not be followed. Now, the thing that everyone needs to remember right now is the only reason, well, I should say, we are getting all of these stories that are just keep coming up more and more and more about cops abusing the system, and they're getting kind of national attention. And the only reason why we are hearing these stories is because people are pushing back against these systems, okay? The news doesn't ever report on anything that it will not benefit from. That is why news, there's left wing and right wing. It's all lying, made up bullshit. But that is why they will report on one thing. They will have their, they can both try and report on the same sort of situation, but they'll have totally disparate, different types of headlines and stuff to get people's attention, to appeal to the people that generally lean in a certain direction. The news never reports on anything that does not benefit them. What is benefiting the news right now is the fact that there's all these people that are sick of mass surveillance, and they're going after flock cameras right now because flock cameras are the most brazen about it, okay? They're just in your face. That dickhead CEO came out and said it's all about making the company money, and he's trying to brute force flock cameras into every city and everywhere in this country in an effort to get an initial public offering to make him a lot of money. Because right now, flock is still privately owned. If he were to get sued, he and the investors are liable for it. If it goes to an IPO and then is publicly traded, then the shareholders are the ones that are liable to pay off any lawsuits that come along. This is what this dickhead's doing, okay? And it's just more spyware that was seeded by Palantir just to create, help expand the mass surveillance state, okay? That's what all exists. But the reason now that the news is reporting on this is because there's a massive pushback from people. And because there's a massive pushback from people, these cops are now starting to get punished. Do not be so naive to think that if there was not such a massive pushback, that any of this stuff would be happening to any of these cops that are caught abusing the system. nothing would happen to them. And in fact, they would be encouraged to continue doing this sort of stuff. But because there is such a pushback nationwide against this mass surveillance, rights trampling, tyrannical bullshit, the police stations are doing their best to cover their asses. So they will throw whoever they can under the bus as quickly as possible to try and distance themselves from what they know is to be trampling of people's rights. Okay? That is the only reason it's happening. This right here sums it up. This little paragraph here. Charlotte-Mecklenburg police said they do not own or operate any flock cameras or devices. However, officers do have a memorandum of understanding that allows officers access to flock devices of other agencies and entities at no charge. This sums up completely. So even if they claim that Charlotte has no flock cameras, Charlotte has access to however many other cameras from any other different brands, Axon, whatever other different, there's probably so many of these ones we don't even know about at this point in time that exist. They have access to all these cameras. But here's the main thing. This is how they trample your rights. They have a memorandum of understanding. Okay? A memorandum of understanding. And that allows officers to access flock devices of other agencies and entities at no charge. So what this is doing is saying, hey, we want to look for someone, or we want to stalk someone. We have no probable cause or whatever. If we did have probable cause, we would go to a judge and get a warrant issued specifically for what we need. No, we don't do that. Or if we do have probable cause, we don't want to waste time to go to a judge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go call up my friend that I know in a thing in a county, like 3 counties over, who has access to this information. I'm going to say, hey man, can you look this up for me? And then that person will go, yeah, sure, no problem. And then they do the scanning of the thing and then send that information to the other cop. So that way there's a little bit of distance between the cop wanting to do something and the other person doing the stuff. All of this is happening, and they're doing that as a way to circumvent your Fourth Amendment rights. This is what they do. Cops are known, and they are encouraged to lie when it comes to interacting with people. They are not under any obligation to, one, protect you, to put themselves in the line of danger to protect you, or two, to be honest with you. They are not. They exist to make money for the system. That's what they do. That's why we have so many laws that only exist just as be revenue generators, and that is the ones that the cops focus on. They're not focusing on the murders and the rapes and all that stuff. They're not doing that. The child abductions, they're not focusing on that. Their general everyday beat cop is writing you parking tickets, going 3 miles over the speed limit, whatever, being not coming to a full stop on a red light or whatever. They're doing all of these things and write tickets on that merely to get you guys to pay money. That is why they exist for the most part. So they don't want to actually follow the laws and the guidelines that are established and honor the Constitution. They want to get what they want as quickly as possible, and they will abuse whatever technology, whatever access, whatever partnerships, whatever friendships that they have to do that. This right here sums it up completely. Charlotte doesn't have any flock cameras, but because cops are cops, they all work together to be able to access other people's devices and allow those other people to access stuff on behalf of someone in a different location, all the way to avoid having to go through the proper channels to get warrants. This is why this technology is so heinously bad. No one should be okay with this. It is too ripe for abuse, and it needs to stop. Okay, to sum it up, Chief Estella Patterson, because if you know anything about Charlotte politics and demographics and all that, every single person in every position of power is from the exact same demographic. You can look it up. The exact same demographic, because you have a collection of fucking idiots that vote on demographics and not on qualifications. So Estella Patterson, you can look her up. You can also look up the sheriff of Mecklenburg County. I shared him in my follow-up video to the fighting the surveillance state thing. You can see exactly how fucking stupid he is. You can look up who this dumbass mayor was that finally stepped down from being an inept idiot. You can look who the person was that got pushed into her place, that wasn't elected. He was installed to be pushed in her place. They are all the same demographic. All right? That is not how you run a community. That is not how you have transparency. That is not how you have a functioning society. You cannot vote everything on demographic. You have to vote on competency and merit, qualifications. Stop voting demographics. But let's see what she has to say. The public expects and deserves the highest level of integrity from every officer who wears the CMPD badge. Misusing law enforcement technology or accessing confidential information for non-law enforcement purposes is a betrayal of public trust and a violation of everything this profession stands for. We will not tolerate that kind of misconduct, and anyone who violates that trust will be held fully accountable. Okay, so what's going to happen to this guy? Nothing. What is fully accountable going to be for Officer Seth Elliott? Nothing. If anything, he'll ride the desk for a month or two, then he'll be right back on the streets abusing his position of power, because that is what happens. All of this, everything that's happening now, everything that's happening nationwide, all of these these cops that are getting arrested and or fired and or whatever, the only reason that is happening is because there is a public outcry and a pushback. If there was not a public outcry and pushback, all of these cops would be continuing doing what they're doing, and they would be encouraged to do it more. You guys need to understand that. Okay, that's all I got for today for this video. I just want to do a quick little update on this, on how more of these are being abused, and to show exactly how they go about abusing the system to violate your constitutional rights. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.